Candlepin Stars and Strikes.
Oh, look at this. Look at it.
Candlepin Stars and Strikes is sponsored in part by Somerville Lumber. Looks good. Looks good. That's the goal. It's Candlepin Stars and Strikes is produced in conjunction with the New Hampshire Candlepin Bowling Association. And now your hosts, Doug Brown and Dan Murphy.
Hi, everybody, and welcome again to Park Place Lanes here in Windham, New Hampshire, and welcome to our 9th season here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. We're so happy to have you with us. Doug Brown along with Dan Murphy, ready to go for another brand new season. And, of course, when we wrap it all up in the spring, we'll be headed for our 5th annual, believe it or not, Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions.
Yeah, 9th year and 5th annual Tournament of Champions. Should be exciting, and we got quite a lineup for the first series.
We do indeed, and of course we also have a reminder for you as we begin the brand new season about Stars and Strikes doubles, which of course is also right here on the Winds every Sunday. We got a special announcement about that. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Right now, let's talk about the two bowlers we're going to have for you on this week's show. First of all, our number 5 seed in this first group of the year from Hudson, New Hampshire, Mike Poulin.
Okay, Mike comes in averaging 127, high single of 199, and his roll-off score, like all of them, at 703. Tremendous roll-off scores.
I believe this happened on one previous occasion. We had 5 roll-off scores, all in the 700s, but this time we had one 700 that didn't even make it. The scores were so high.
Yes, poor Tom O'Brien was the runner-up.
All right, let's talk about our number 4 seed now. Mike's opponent for this first week's show from Londonderry, New Hampshire. He's been here previously as well, Brian Uphold.
Still looking for his first win, though, at a 125 average, a high single of a whopping 205, 485 for high triple. His roll-off score, 707.
And, of course, we have our bonus ball contest, as always, here on Stars and Strikes, a carryover. We're up to $30. Continuing from last spring. We've got a lot of cards in, a lot of mail over the summer. We appreciate that. And we're going to get this match started, the first of 3 strings here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes right after these words. Don't go away. Well, we promised big scores, and there are the big scores from this final roll-off for our first 4-week series of the season here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Mike Poulin with a 703, good enough for 5th place, believe it or not. Brian Uphold with the 707 gets 4th. Next week, the winner of this match will face Peter Flynn. Happy to have him back on the program. In 2 weeks, Bruno DeFeo will be here, and of course, Peter Pereira, the number 1 seed, at 747. Mike Poulin, the left-hander, gets it going as we begin the brand new season, and we're happy to have you joining us. As always, here on Stars and Strikes. Did you have a nice summer?
Absolutely, yeah. Except for my golf game.
Oh, I can tell you that from first-hand experience. Spare it up for Mike Poulin in the first.
Well, yours was nothing to write home to Mom about.
That's true, and I didn't.
1, 2, 7, and there goes the 10. Nice way to open up, Mike Poulin. Spare in the first. But we have a lot of fun. Just catches the head pin light, wants that 10 to go, and it will.
And now he's left with the 2, 5, 7, and 8 with a favorably angled piece of wood, it appears.
Looks like if he's on a 2-pin, he's got a shot at making it. But he could leave the 5. Just a little heavy on the 2-pin and drove it right straight back. Ball never took the 5-pin for him.
26, opening pair for Mike Poulin. And that brings us to Brian Uphold.
The bowler's sporting our new look in bowling shirts. Kelly green. I guess you'd call that Kelly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he slides the 4-pin over. He's got the 2-4 left. Nice piece of wood in front. Should be no problem for Brian. Matches the spare Mike Poulin put in the first. Brian has been with us on 2 other occasions and has yet to put a W up there. So.
And he hasn't been here in quite a while, actually. It was a lot longer than I thought. The last time Brian was here was on New Year's Day of 1989 when he lost to Gary Duffett.
Ooh, just missing the head pin. Trying to make it 2 in a row, but he'll take the early lead. 28, so that gives him a 2-pin advantage.
I want to remind you right off the start here, before we get too far into the show, that with our brand new season here on Stars and Strikes, we have a time change on Stars and Strikes doubles, beginning with this season. Actually began last week with the rebroadcast of last year's Tournament of Champions. But Stars and Strikes doubles moves till 5 p.m. Stars and Strikes doubles at 5 p.m. here on the Winds, starting today with our first show of the brand new season from a new location, the Londonderry Bowling Center in Londonderry, New Hampshire. Ooh, Mike was surprised he was able to put that through there without hitting anything. It'll be a 9-box. So instead of having the 2 shows back-to-back, immediately after our broadcast here at 1 o'clock, we'll have a double feature for you here on the Winds, and then after the movies, Stars and Strikes doubles now at 5 o'clock here on the Winds.
Mike's looking at the 1, 7, and 10. Well, maybe. Oh, the ball just slid off before it tried to knock the 10-pin down. Make it a 10. 45 through 4 for Mike Poulin. Brian Uphold up for his 3rd and 4th frames.
This roll-off, by the way, with all the big scores, was held at Bowling Acres in Peterborough, New Hampshire. Thanks to Rick Davis and the gang there for all of their help.
Brian's going to shoot at the 1-2 again. Same shot he had in the 2nd box on lane 31.
Yes.
This time he covers it.
I think you always have to be surprised when we get 5 700s. It's happened before, but I believe this is only the 2nd time. And certainly we've never had 6 700s before. As I'm sure, as you mentioned in the open, Tom O'Brien is only too happy to point out. He scored a 702, and that was only good enough to be the alternate for this series.
Well, the farther this wood rolls out for Brian, the better he's going to like it. He may be able to carry the ball off the wood for the 7-pin and have the wood take the 9. And
yes.
That's exactly what happened, and makes it 2 in a row and an 11-pin advantage and another bonus ball to come. There you see the carom of the ball off for the 7-pin, and the wood does the rest of the damage.
Mike Poulin off target.
That was interesting. 2, 8, and 10. See, that happened too many times. A little late, Mike, with that delivery. Behind himself, leaves it off to the left.
Playing it inside.
Pretty good recovery there.
Mike is in insurance sales for Metropolitan Life, does most of his bowling at the Londonderry Bowling Center. He and his wife Judy have 3 children, Stephen, Tommy, and David. Mike's high single is a 199. Now half Worcester right.
Trouble with timing right now. Tried to overcorrect what happened on lane 32. This time he pulls the ball to the right. And a good recovery there, but not much to show for it. Still looking at the 5, 8, and the 6 and the 10.
$7 for Mike, and 61 through 6. Mentioned that Brian Uphold hasn't appeared on the show in almost 4 years, but he has been here. He's a fan of Candlepin bowling. See him at the tapings now and again. $9. And a 17-pin lead.
And off to a very good start, 71 at the halfway point. Game number 1. Week 1.
Boy, that was a good-looking hit.
In the 1-3 pocket, leaves himself the 5-8. Couple choices, could go right at the 5-pin clean, but I think he may take the wood that's out in front. The easier of the 2 shots.
Mark number 4 for Brian.
4 out of 6 frames are marks, all spares. We yet to see our first strike. Mike Poulin just had the opening spare and has been shut out since.
Mentioned the bonus ball contest. It'll be coming up at the end of the show. $30 in the jackpot. You've been, of course, holding the money over the summer.
It's been invested very well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now we've got what, 10?
Yeah, we got our 2%. And
It's amazing the amount of mail we received over the summer.
Absolutely.
Probably the biggest summer of mail we've ever had. How
Oh,
about that
wow,
for a
great shot.
Oh yeah, the 4, 6, and 10 from Mike Poulin. Worth another look, certainly.
Plays it just like the 7-pin was standing. Flips that 4-pin over into the 10. The 10 falls forward to the 6th. And he's got his second mark. And he's going to have another trick shot here. 7-pin drop on the spare, but difficult. 4, 5, and 7. 2 pieces of wood. Could try to cut the 5-pin over. Or now it's going to change. He's going to take that wood out in front and have the ball carry him off the wood into the 5 and have the wood take the 4, 7.
Yes, 2 difficult spares in a row for Mike Poulin.
Sometimes that has a tendency to get you going. You see the carrying of the ball, just catching the 5-pin, and the 7-pin was kind of stubborn going down. But 2 excellent shots, as Doug said. Sometimes that's enough to really get you cranked up.
This is on a spare for Brian Uphold, just 3, chopping out the 1, 5, and 8.
Oh, great effort. Tried to cut actually did cut the 2 over into the 3, 6, 9, 10. Got just the 6-pin though. Great effort.
And a 9 box. So the lead drops to 15, and he's opposite another mark here in the 8th. Brian from Londonderry, New Hampshire, works as a truck driver for ABC Moving. Brian also does most of his bowling at the Londonderry Bowling Center. And Brian and his wife Rebecca are due for their first child in December. So our best wishes and congratulations to them. Nope, that'll be an 8 bucks. So 101 through 8, as you see, and with this fill, Mike Poulin is going to almost pull even, perhaps, after trailing by more than 20. Well, he'll trail by 10 after that fill.
Just can't seem to get that good rhythm yet.
Mike is off to a good start here on the new season of bowling here on the Winds. Regardless of what happens in this match, Mike is going to be with us at 5 o'clock today for the first week of Stars and Strikes doubles of the new season. He'll be partnered with Dan Broder, and their opponents later today will be Wayne Denon and Peter Pereira, who of course is also coming up in singles in a few weeks. So both Mike Poulin and Peter Pereira qualifying for this first series on each show.
And the roll-offs are independent.
Right. Well, Mike, a little disgusted with that shot.
Yeah. If anything, he's just a little late. His body seems to be getting to the foul line, and his arm is lagging behind, and that's usually a sign of when you leave it off to the left, in this case, because he's a left-handed bowler. A right-hander would be leaving it off to the right because you're a little late coming through the arm. 108, difficult opening and kind of disappointing game for Mike. 3 spares for 108.
Meanwhile, Brian Uphold, who has 4 marks already, trying to end his little drought here as he went without a mark his last 2. And there's a spare in the 9th.
111. Well, it looked kind of ugly at first down there, but after all said and done, he's got the 5 and the 9. Piece of wood next to the 5. Whoops, too far left.
The lead is 20 right now. And make it 21. 129. For Brian Uphold to Mike Poulin's 108. 2 games to go here on Stars and Strikes, and we'll be back in a minute. Last season, a $30 jackpot to start the season, and a lot of folks with a chance to win it. We've got a lot of postcards in there, so we want you to get yours in so that you'll have a chance too. Of course, every time we get a winner, we empty out the big TV and start all over again. So good luck.
Brian put the ball right in the 1-3 pocket that time and left the 5-7, nearly cut the 5-pin over. Trying to protect the 21-pin advantage. Just joined us, 129 opening game for Brian Uphold and Mike Poulin, 108. There you see the scoreboard. Right back in the 1-3 pocket, still waiting for our first strike.
That 7-pin slid right in front of the 8-pin before it went down without touching it. Right on it. Spare number 6 for Brian Uphold. Mike Poulin has only 3 marks so far in the match. Looking to get himself on track, and maybe he did with that ball, leaving the 10-pin.
Piece of wood resting next to the 10-pin. No problem.
Mike's going to clear out a loose ball that came back at him.
He's really going to clear it out. Make one more. I think it's like the baseball pitcher just came into the game. He's thrown over to first to warm up. Filling a mark in the first. Box number 1, string number 2. Full this time, just a 5 fill. 2-4-8 and the 6-10 way over on the right.
Mike Poulin was not with us at all last season on either show. Last time he was here was back in April of '91 when he won 2 matches in a row, beating Bob Kelly and Rick Robillard before dropping a match to Peter Flynn. And of course, the winner of this match today will face Peter Flynn, our number 3 seed, next week. And what a great treat it is to see Peter back bowling successfully.
Absolutely.
He very nearly qualified for, I believe it was our last taping last year.
I think you're right. Brian shooting at the 9-pin. Couple pieces of the wood. Could be a little tricky here. They're going to fly away from each other and see what happens. No, just drives it right straight through. And I know that's a spare. The 10 button is right next to the spare, and I just misfired.
Seven fill this time. And the 1-3-7. A piece of wood hidden behind there, and the wood will take out the 7.
Just caught enough. It was light on the head pin, but with the wood, as Doug said, behind. Watch the ball. Just nudges the wood, rolls it over, and knocks down the 7 for 3 marks in a row. Mike back on the head pin this time. 3-6-10 with the 7 pin. Try to split the 3 and the 6. Yeah, it's inside.
Everything but the 7 pin. Now Mike's waiting this out because the wood is still moving around. He should have an easy deflection on the 7 pin, but he's just waiting. And he covers it for the 10.
And again, just missing the head pin to the left. Got a good break though. Leaves the 3 pin and the 8, and Lisa Wood out in front. See, it's out in front of the head, the 2 pin a little bit, but he'll probably drive the ball right straight. No, he's going way left. 3 pin, I should say.
So a spare up for Mike, and an important spare it is as he tries to play catch up here in week 1 of our brand new season on Stars and Strikes. Don't go away. Brian Uphold working on a spare.
And a string of 3 in a row. Right back in the 1-3 pocket, and boy, another solid 9 drop. Leaves just the 7. Trying to make it 4 spares in a row. Kind of surprised we don't have a strike this far into the match with these 2 polars. Can't throw a ball much better than the one that Brian just delivered, though. And he covers.
Hangs on to the lane long enough to cover the 7 pin. Halfway through the match now, Brian has 9 marks, all spares.
9 out of 15 boxes, not too shabby. This time through the middle.
We'll see how he does on the spread eagle.
Takes out the left side, 2, 4, and 7. He'll try to take out the 3, 6, 10 on the right. Not quite. 88 though, through 6 frames. In command right now. Mike Poulin though, working on a spare. Has the
pretty
ball.
Pocket hit.
And another 9-pin drop, this time by Mike Poulin. Well, give him a spare leave. The both bowlers seem to be converting him. Chance for Mike to gain a little ground here. He's only opposite of 4 fill on this spare, but well, he got a pretty good break off the missing the head pin. 7-pin drop. 1, 8, 9, 1, 9, 10 left.
Let's see. Nope, missed the head pin again. And an 8. So Mike has lost 10 more pins in count so far in this game. So the lead is 31 for Brian Uphold. And Brian is on the head pin yet again.
Continually pounding the 1-3 pocket, which is the pocket that he likes to hit. Ball cuts through the pins. This time, is he going to get it off the wall? Not quite. I think he was trying to play it to get by that front piece of wood.
This is only the 2nd time in the match that Brian's gone 2 straight boxes without marking. He'll move over to lane 31 here at Park Place Lanes.
Well, this time the 2 and the 7. Looks like there's a lot of help in between, so if you can clip the 2 pin, it should be another mark. This time he went by the 2 pin, and
nope,
it's not going to happen for him. Little opening for Mike Poulin though, 2 open frames.
9 for Brian. So an unprecedented 3 straight boxes without a mark. Well, Mike trying to make corrections and still left to the head pin that time.
Continues to try to make those adjustments, but Just doesn't look real comfortable up there. He threw his hands up there. He knew he was tight. I had a night just like this last night.
Is that right?
Yeah, it just didn't think like you could get anything done. No matter what, you just weren't comfortable up there.
Good thing you weren't on TV, eh?
Right.
I'm sure that's probably what Mike was wishing right now. Oh my. This really wears on you too.
Well, you begin to press, and then all of a sudden easy spare leads become very difficult because you keep saying to yourself, I can't afford to miss any more. You're not quite as loose as you should be.
Nine box, so unable to take advantage of the two opens. Actually lost 2 pins in count. Another solid 9 drop.
We're not going to get a strike today. We've never gone through a match without a strike, have we?
I don't believe, well, yes, I believe we have, but I
Have we?
think it's been a long time. I'd have to look it up. Give me something to do during the breaks.
116 in the 9th, plus the bonus.
That is spare number 10 for Brian Uphold. And could be on his way to number 11 here in a moment on the 1-7. Yes.
You called it. 134. Actually, yes, 134 and a ball to come in the 10th.
And another
There's
big
the
hit, and
strike.
there's the strike. 144 for a 2-string total 273 for Brian Uphold. Finally, he was able to kick out that extra pin.
And Mike, when he's on the head pin, he can't seem to get that extra pin. We'd like to have seen the 10 pin go down. 2-4 and the 10 left.
Needs a mark. Really needs to make something happen here. As Brian Uphold has doubled his lead so far. And of course, he put up 20 pins in the 10th. Crossing over that time for Mike Poulin, and he'll shoot at the 5-pin. Mike will shoot at this one, I think. Kind you like to have when things aren't going your way. Spare in the 10th. His 7th mark. All spares. Well, he comes close to matching the 20 pins that Brian Uphold put up there in the 10th. 120 for Mike Poulin in Game 2, a 2-string total 228. So it'll be an uphill climb for Mike here in Game 3, a 45-pin lead for Brian Uphold. And we're back with Game 3 in a minute. Mike Poulin trailing by 45, as you see. Just hasn't really been able to get it started.
No, there's the problem right there. He just seems to leave it to the left. When he tries to make the correction, he'll pull it left, and when he's on the head pin, he doesn't seem to be carrying the extra pin. Basically, he's having a tough day.
And left again on that shot. Well, Mike, again, knows that regardless of what happens in this hour, he'll be back at 5 o'clock today.
Absolutely.
For Stars and Strikes doubles, he'll be teaming with Dan Broder.
Yeah, he'll have some help.
And Dan and Mike will face Wayne Denon and Peter Pereira. Well, that's the kind of a shot right there that you know things aren't going your way, because a piece of wood was coming over and might have taken out either the 2 or the 4 pin or both, and another piece of wood stopped it right before it got there. So that's when you know just things aren't going your way. $10 for Mike. Meanwhile, Brian Uphold has been all over the head pin all day. That time he was a little light, but still got a pretty good break out of it.
The wood could cost him this shot. Well, he's too far right anyways, but missed the object pin, which is a 3, but he's still cruising. 45 pin advantage. Can gain 2 more here, and he does.
Brian slides over to lane 31.
Of course, next week he's got to bring his best bowling with him, because he's bowling one of the premier Candlepin bowlers, and Peter Flynn. If Peter brings his game with him, you should see some big scores. However, you never know. Look at Mike Poulin, averaging 127. He hasn't been close to it today.
Well, Brian Uphold unable to take advantage of the opening, so the lead remains at 45 now after the first 2 boxes. There's still time for Mike if he were to most especially throw a couple of strikes back to back, but he has yet to throw one today.
He just can't seem to make that adjustment. At this point in time, I think I'd probably go a little more cross lane with the approach. In other words, I'd move a little, in his case, move a little more to the left, give yourself a different angle coming at the pins and see if that would correct it. But right now, you could try anything. Well, he pushed the ball that time.
$10. Again, a reminder, Stars and Strikes doubles now at 5 p.m. every Sunday here on the Winds. Right after our show ends at 1 o'clock, we'll have a double feature for you. A couple of great movies coming your way, and then there's the strike for Mike Poulin, his first.
Well, still got time. You know, if he throws another strike right now and possibly a triple, you never know what's going to happen.
As I was saying, the double feature after our show here at 1 o'clock, and then Stars and Strikes doubles now at 5 o'clock here on the Winds. And today, in the first match of the new season, it'll be Dan Broder and Mike Poulin against Wayne Denon and Peter Pereira.
.27 through 3 for Brian Uphold. Now he's up. It's the strike put up by Mike Poulin.
One of our participating sponsors for this series here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes, the fine folks at Somerville Lumber, big supporters of Candlepin bowling here on the Winds. Somerville Lumber, where you can get it right the first time. Brian Uphold trying to work this out. Well, when we come back from this break, there will be an opportunity for Mike Poulin, because he's working on a strike, and should he throw another one on his next ball, things could get interesting. A $9 for Brian Uphold. We will take a break right here, and when we come back, Mike Poulin will work on that strike. Don't go away. All right.
There's an important ball. I think it's this one.
Yeah, this...
Working on a strike, and he really needs to throw another one.
Crosses over. Doesn't happen for him. And not only that, but he's got a terrible leave with that wood. Cindy Sissom handling the scoreboard and the deadwood line for us, so she's going to go down and take a quick look. That looks like it is legal, and it is by plenty.
Yeah, I was going to say it just toppled forward, and got deadwood line is 2 feet in front of the head pin, so it's quite a bit of room down there. And of course, there's the problem. Mike was hoping that it might be out of play.
Let's take a look at that spare shot. Just caught it, glancing blow, deflected it to the side.
Not much you could do with that.
Oh no, look at that.
That close to being an even match, really, because even though the one in between, the 5th frame, was light, he didn't get the strike, but he didn't have a shot at the spare either.
Well, Mike has taken 9 pins off the lead.
We have a problem on 2.
Oh, no, it seems to have corrected itself. Oh, maybe not.
I don't think so.
Well, this gives us a moment to remind you about our upcoming taping session here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes for our noon show, which of course features singles competition. Our next taping date will be on Tuesday, October 27th. Tuesday, October 27th. You may want to make a special note of that. We were taping predominantly on Sundays in years past, but we have again made a switch to weekday tapings. So perhaps some of you can't get a chance to be here on the weekends, might be able to, well, I don't want to say play hooky for a day, but come out and see us on a weekday.
Just come over and tell us, look, I don't want to be on camera because I'm supposed to be at work or school or whatever, and we'll accept bribes.
We'll give you a little Groucho mask.
That's right, yeah.
But our next taping will be on Tuesday, October 27th, right here at Park Place Lanes in Windham. And of course, we're very easy to find right off exit 3 from Route 93, Route 28 North in Windham. Just up from the traffic light near Canopy Lake Park. Very easy to find, and we'd love to see you here on Stars and Strikes, especially as we begin our brand new season. And we work, as we always do, toward the spring and our big Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions.
It's become quite a event in the spring. Brian is ready to go again on lane 32, and the wood turns nicely for him. 247. Piece of wood next to the 3-pin. It's going to try to slide it right across. Just like that. Great shot.
That's certainly worth another look on the 2, 3, 4, and 7. And Brian just continues to tries to maintain the lead here.
Another makeable spare. 3, 6, 4. Piece of wood in between. Another one behind the 4-pin. Wants the 3.
How about that?
There are 2 ways to make that one. The right way and Brian's way. Watch the ball. Where did it go? Here it comes.
Isn't it amazing how when it's your day, things
Sure.
like that happen? Mike Poulin is on a strike here. Looking for the double, and there
wow.
it is. Oh, man, do you realize he is just maybe a fraction of an inch away from 4 strikes in a row? How about this? How about it for Mike Poulin? Oh, do you believe that? That could have
Yes.
pretty much evened this thing up.
Yes.
If that had fallen over.
It's still not over. But let's go back to the 5th box.
Yeah.
Granted, when we started talking about it, he had a bad piece of wood for the spare, but that wasn't a bad ball. But if he had converted that for a spare and then threw the double, this is not an easy one either, though. No,
Got it.
tries it straight back.
Well, may not want to go away yet. Mike left that rocking 5-pin. I wonder if that may come back to haunt him later. This is a big ball for Brian Uphold on a spare, and he drops 9 again.
Certainly is.
The lead right now is 33, but of course Mike has already put up marks in the 7th and 8th.
He's got to try to get by the wood or hit it high.
Oh, yes.
Off the wall and another spare.
That's mark number 15 for Brian.
Can't afford to make any mistakes right now. Like that.
A 3 fill. And that's against a box with 20 in it.
And he'll be open in the 8th, where Mike has another mark already posted.
A tip of the hat to Ray Goslin, one of the fine staff here at Park Place Lanes, for taking care of that quick mechanical problem we had on lane 32 a moment ago. And here we go to the final 2. Well, it could just depend on what Mike does on this spare first.
Right, he still needs a couple more marks, but he's put himself in a situation where he can put a little pressure on Brian if he can mark out. Right in the pocket.
Oh, look out.
Are you kidding? Wow. That should easily been 4 in a row. All of a sudden, Mike seems to have found it. He's even looking more confident when he stands up there now. And he's got another one.
Well, going into the final 2 now, 8 boxes completed. The lead is 15, as you see. As Mike has all of a sudden here in the last 3 boxes taken 30 pins off the lead.
Still needs a good fill and another mark. Well, the fill's not going to be bad, but he's going to have a difficult spare leave.
And that 3-pin going down may have hurt him a lot too, although he's got wood hanging around here.
And he's going to go after the wood in between and hope the ball takes the 7 and the wood takes the 10, or vice versa, but he's going to need some help. That close.
Nope.
The ball actually flew up over the 7-pin.
Well, Mike is going to have a terrific third game here, but it may just be a little bit short.
That'll be a 9.
On a 150. And let's take a look at that spare chance.
Watch the ball. Just behind it. What you could do, if I think he went any further right, he might have missed the 10-pin. So, Brian, you just have to keep the ball in the lane for these 2 frames.
378 for Mike Poulin.
And that should do it.
Well, the fill ball will mathematically do it, but Brian Uphold has withstood the charge here by Mike Poulin.
Had a rocking 5-pin too on that double. I mean, if, but came from a long ways back. Mike Poulin made a match out of it.
Another spare in the 10th.
Not to take anything away from Brian, but those marks are easy after it's mathematically over.
Well, a 6 fill here would give Brian a 400 triple.
Seems like both bowls woke up the last half of this game. The 5th box on, we've got 8 marks out of 10 frames.
6 exactly, and an even 400 for Brian Uphold, and he wins it over Mike Poulin's 378. Look at the second half of that game for Mike Poulin. 95 pins in the last 5 boxes. He gave it a heck of a try, but came up just a little bit short. We'll be back for the bonus ball contest. Chat with the bowlers right after these words. Doug Brown and Dan Murphy back here at Park Place Lanes. Brian Uphold with the win, throwing a 400 against Mike Poulin. And boy, the last 5 boxes, Mike put it together. But it really all came down to perhaps that 1 pin, that 5-pin.
Yeah, he finally found his spot, and it was, Mike's got a lot of talent in that arm of his, and if it wasn't for the 5-pin, we might be talking to him second instead of first.
All right, well, we're going to talk to Mike first. How about a round of applause for Mike Poulin, a 378. We have 5th prize money for you, Michael, $100. And boy, every time you threw that strike in the 4th box, the first one. And we talked about, well, throw a double, all of a sudden things can change. Eventually you did throw the double, and then it was the rocking 5-pin that might have even cost you the match, as it turned out.
Yeah, the 5-pin, and I threw the 7-pin drop with that piece of wood in my way,
right.
And I had no place to put it. But Brian bowled well. Give the kid credit, he bowled well. I was trying to get a little pressure on him, but I think it was a little bit too late. I ran out of boxes.
Well, we appreciate again your coming, and of course this means you're still eligible for the rest of the season, so we hope to see you again before the year's over.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mike. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. And of course we will see Mike Poulin at 5 o'clock today on Stars and Strikes Doubles for our first show on that program of the season. And now we're going to have Brian Uphold go over on lane 31 to throw our bonus ball. Brian wants to come over and talk about his win, but he's got to throw the bonus ball first. $30 in the jackpot this week, and look out. It's going to be a 9 drop. Let's see.
It's a lot of cards. I think my hand's stuck. There you go.
Not a match, unfortunately, for Howard Estes of Drake at Mass. Howard guessed a 6, so Howard, you'll be receiving a gift from TV50 and the NHCBA. And now we can have Brian come in and talk about his win. He's very anxious to talk about it. Come on right in here, Brian, so we can get you on camera. Congratulations, although, boy, he made you work for it a little bit at the end.
Yeah, he came on strong at the end. He's a Super Bowler. It's just a matter of time before he started hitting the head pin and things started really happening for him.
That was interesting. Mike was having trouble hitting the head pin early in the match. You were all over the head pin, and yet it was a while before you finally were able to carry the extra pin and get a strike.
I'll take 9 drops all day long. Hopefully I'll make at least 50% of them, but yeah, it's nice to finally end the drought anyway.
Well, next week we got a guy named Peter Flynn coming in here. Ever heard of him?
Yeah, unfortunately. About my worst nightmare come true.
Well, we're looking forward to it. We'll see you next week.
Hopefully it'll be a good match.
All right. Thanks very much, Brian. Congratulations. And again, as we take a look at the ladder, Brian has 1 win under his belt now, but to get number 2, he's going to have to beat one of the greats, left-hander Peter Flynn.
Oh, he keeps throwing the ball the way he is. It should be an excellent match. Peter brings his game with him. It'll be another 400 series for both of them.
All right, we'll remind you to join us next Sunday at 12 noon for Brian Uphold against Peter Flynn. And don't forget, at 5 o'clock this afternoon, after the double feature, we'll have Stars and Strike doubles for you here on The Wins. Until then, for Dan Murphy and the whole crew, Doug Brown, so long from Park Place Lane.